Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. Welcome to our currently one live viewer, and a warm welcome to anyone else who joins in. So, one hobby I have is to answer questions on Quora. It's a website, it's a really interesting website actually, where anyone can ask a question about anything and anyone can write an answer. There's all kinds of questions, and you get all kinds of answers. Um, and I've seen these. There's a lot of people on there who post questions about feeling suicidal, saying, "What should I do?" or um, "Do you think it's okay if I kill myself?" and so forth and so on. Um, And I don't know if now there's maybe a little bit more than usual, but I've been seeing more than I'm used to seeing. And so I've started writing some responses, but the last one, I think one of the last ones I really touched me. So I'm gonna read it. Read the question. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna read the question. One moment. I just wanted to end my life. I'm so confused and fickle minded. I did many mistakes that I couldn't correct them. I can't find any hope for me. What should I do? So, so I'm not sure what about this particular one really touched me, but um, I think it's the person saying I can't find any hope for myself. So Bruno Groening said that hopelessness uh, will block the divine power. That as long as one's feeling hopeless, that um, I was just taking a little nap. That if one is feeling hope, if one is, you could say, taking in the feeling of hopelessness, because hopelessness is not a natural. It's not a natural human emotion. It's definitely sent by evil. And that when we're taking in hopelessness, that we're completely blocked from the divine power. It's like an impenetrable shield. And so it's very important to be mindful for hopelessness. And I think part of why this question spoke, oh my God. I did wake up at 4 a.m. and so I just took a little nap and just got up from that. So I think part of why this question speaks to me so much right now is I think a lot of people in general, and I've been feeling some of it too, or facing it. I think a lot of people all around the world are feeling hopeless. I'm guessing it's a very pervasive feeling and experience right now. And two things is, first of all, it's not a more than two things. It's not a natural feeling. It absolutely comes from evil, and um it's not true. Hopelessness is the utter denial of a higher power, of God. It's really the absolute opposite of faith. Um, Hopelessness is believing that there's a problem that's too big for God. It's really a denial of what Bruno Groening said, that God is the supreme physician. So, as I said, it's been something that I've been. Oh my gosh, I've never yawned during community hour. Um, so, like I said, I've fallen into it too. I'm not saying that, especially over these last couple weeks. And I think right now, at this moment in history, more than more than any other time in history, the medicine that I need, that everyone needs, is the truth. The truth that there is a higher power, that that higher power is available to help, and that, as Bruno Groening said, nothing is incurable. It's often People often say that Bruno said, um, nothing is impossible, but actually what he said was, if you look at the original German, is God is nothing impossible. God is limitless possibility, limitless power, and hopelessness, of course, is the exact opposite of that. Um, Hopelessness is the belief in no possibility. So let's give away any lingering hopelessness that any one of us has. Let's give away any lack of faith, any distrust in the divine. Let's give away the idea that there are problems that are too big for God. That this doesn't mean that everything is going to be healed in this lifetime. Doesn't mean everything's going to be healed in the time we want, and it doesn't mean that we're going to get exactly what we want when we want it. But what it does mean, the idea, the belief, the trust in a supreme power, what it does mean is that, well, as Bruno Groening said, the good will prevail, that everything ultimately will be all right. So let's take that to heart, and let's take in some of this beautiful life energy that, in my understanding, is always available to us through the very simple act of wanting it. It's the very simple act of observing our body, to the very, not always easy, but simple act of trusting in God, and trusting in our, whoever your spiritual helper may be. My main one happens to be Bruno Groening. Bruno and Jesus are the helpers I trust most. So let's put our faith and trust where it belongs, not in negative thoughts, but in infinite, limitless love. Noticing what you feel, having the intention to take this energy in, taking on faith, really trusting that every problem has a solution. being mindful of our thoughts, watching for negative thoughts. My sense of this path is that moment by moment, we're either taking on, taking in goodness and rising up towards God, or we're taking in negativity. I don't think it's really possible to float in life. I mean, maybe for moments, but that the key thing that my understanding, based on what Bruno taught, that determines whether we're moving closer to God or whether we're moving closer to disorder, closer to God or closer to dis-ease in all its various forms, is faith. You know, and here it is, May 2020, and if we watch the news or we just dwell in our thoughts too much, dwell in thinking too much about the world situation, there seems to be all sorts of reasons to not have faith. It seems, I use that word very consciously. It seems like faith doesn't make any sense, that there mustn't be a God. How could this be possible? Things are never going to get better. Things are just going to keep getting worse. Thoughts like that. They've shown up in my head, and I'm sure they're showing up in the heads of most of the people here on this planet nowadays, or something very similar. But it's up to us to recognize that those thoughts are not true and firmly and vigilantly say no to them and to keep coming back to faith. the more I reflect on myself, the more I observe my thoughts, especially observe my thoughts, it really seems to me that underneath every thought is a feeling of faith or is a feeling of lack of faith. And I think that's why Bruno called us to not dwell on problems. Like I was just as I was just tuning in, there's a little bit of a situation I have with someone, a little bit of a conflict. And then if I'm not careful, then I just start to dwell on it. But what is the feeling as I dwell on it? It's not a good feeling. It's not a hopeful feeling. It's oh, what am I going to do? And this isn't, basically, it's a feeling of this isn't going to work out. Things aren't okay. This isn't going to work out. Of course, that's not conscious. As I was just tuning in and the thoughts started to come, it was just kind of like, well, maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll do that, or what about this? She said this, and but if I do this, how will they react? So, what's important is to notice how we feel, which of course Bruno Groening called us to over and over and over again, to notice how we're feeling, and then to take that and then ultimately to apply it to each thought. Thoughts are so powerful. I don't have the exact words handy, but Bruno said in essence, he he said thoughts are spiritual forces, and something along the lines of the power of which humanity does not recognize. Bruno likened the soul, or at least part of the soul, to an antenna. And he also used the metaphor of a satellite dish. So that means we're constantly drawing, drawing something to us. The question is, what are we drawing? Now, the law of attraction is um, so popular in today's spiritual marketplace. And I've often wondered, well, how does that relate? How does it relate to the teachings of Bruno Groening? The one place where it does, I think there's a really strong overlay is this idea of we are constantly drawing something to us. Now, the place where there's disagreement is that, the circumstances of our life are not entirely up to us. Those are in God's hands. But this idea of drawing to ourselves an energy, and of course, drawing to ourselves certain kinds of thoughts, and then those thoughts lead to actions, and then those actions create our life. So let's really, really just get really fierce fierce and vigilant about focusing on the divine and taking that in. Here's what Bruno Groening said: "The soul can be compared to a wonderful, beautiful flower about the size of my open palm. When a person wants what is good, their soul then opens just like a satellite dish, and the divine energy streams into it fully. But if a person takes up just a single bad thought, then the soul shuts itself up at once and the connection to God is interrupted. The soul is therefore the receiving device for the healing stream. A good will opens the mirror of the soul and the power can flow. But it will not let in even the tiniest bad feeling, because it will shut itself up as quick as lightning. So the soul is where the divine spark is located in human beings, to which no evil can gain access. It is for this reason that I'm always saying, in this world there are no bad people from a spiritual point of view, but only people with bad habits. So let's want what's good. And when I say that, it doesn't necessarily mean wanting a good house, wanting a good spouse, wanting lots of money, though those things can come our way. What I'm talking about is wanting the energy, the presence, the love of God, wanting health and peace. And then once we have a strong connection to that, then we're in such a better place to to seek out those other things, to work towards those other things. And also to receive the grace, as those things can come to us effortlessly. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. I wish everyone here a day full of staying in communion with and connection with the divine, seeking that, of opening our soul to receive what it was designed to receive: the peace, love, health, and presence of God. Thank you so much for joining in. Take care. Much love.